me to no end is that my IDE now starts complaining I'm using deprecated classes, even though I'm still in Joomla 3.
Okay.
It says this will be deprecated in Joomla 4. I'm not using Joomla 4.
Well, your IDE is at least sophisticated enough to tell you about it.
Yeah.
The way I'm working at the moment, I really need to find a good workflow to develop with JCP because I'm really lacking in that department.
Yeah, I'm just like for big custom codes, the things I just start to work in my own IDE and just paste it into JCP instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mostly start a little bit in JCP, then compile a component, put it online, and then I go with FileZilla. I go into the files, edit it. When I'm satisfied and it's working, then I port it back to JCP.
Yeah. We usually work on local first, so you don't have to do the transferring thing.
Mm.
Potato, potato. Tomato, tomato.
Just wondering what kind of ways people are doing this with JCP. And you actually need to put it back in JCP and Joomla in the backend.
Yeah.
The editor there just sucks.
Yeah. Like ideally, there would be a way that you could have like blocks. If you just start typing in there, you just say import. It takes everything's in there and puts it in the right place. But that will create a host of another difficulties. Problems.
Well, I would already be satisfied if the code mirror would format the code like it's supposed to for Joomla, according to the Joomla standards. It's using spaces instead of tabs.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that sucks.
So you can't even use tab to indent. It's all spaces. The more moving spaces than do a tab. That's so annoying.
I just use tabs and just select everything and paste it in the editor, and it seems to be fine.
Yeah, if you paste tabs inside the code mirror, it's okay. But if you write a new line in code mirror, it goes back to spaces.
Right. That kind of sucks.
I also use actually the one that you use a tab and then you copy that tab and then you just paste to create the tabs.
Yeah, I do that a lot too. But it's still annoying.
Yeah.
I actually got one instance of JCP somewhere that is using Rockpad editor. But it's not very well maintained, it's not kept up to date, I think. But it works better than Chimera.
Come again, Hawkpad?
Rockpad, R-O-K.
Oh.
I've actually heard of that.
Put it in the...
Oh, Rockpad.
In the comments.
Oh. I'll check it out, I don't know about it.
Yeah, it's from Rocket Team.
I use PHP Storm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that automatically does a lot of spacing and stuff as well.
Yeah, you can just set it how you want, but mostly when I copy something into back into Joomla and JCP, I always end up editing stuff again.
Yeah.
And then it removes the tabs and it ends up being spaces if you put new stuff in. Hello. Let's see, it's about 8 o'clock.
Just about.
Yeah, this is. Should we wait a couple minutes, or do you guys want to start?
Well, I'm already here.
There were 7 people that said that they were going to show up, so I don't know if we complete, but I guess we can just start because we don't have a fixed schedule tonight. We're just going to wing it. Just share experiences, tips, maybe see if we can answer some questions of people. It's more like a Dr. Joomla. I don't know if anyone of you know what that is, Dr. Joomla. It's something that a lot of JUGs do. When people have questions about Joomla, they host a Dr. Joomla, and people and the users can ask questions and they help each other. It's quite a common thing in JUGs, Joomla user groups. My Joomla user group does it quite often. Every other meeting we have with Dr. Joomla. It's just a great way to help people. I'm one of, in the JUG here locally, there's not much developers. I think I'm the only one. So there's a lot of questions that end up on my plate. As I know the most, no, I'd like to think I know about the most of Joomla from our group. There's always stuff you don't know, even if you, like me, have done it for like since 2008. That's 13 years now. Yes. So we're just gonna ask questions. If anyone has questions, just ask them. We can look at the GitHub issues. Chris Passion had that suggestion. I think that's a good idea. For the question, the Q&A section, discussion section on the Human Component Builder GitHub page. Let's see if we can answer some stuff.
That seems good.
It's fine for me. Hello again, I was muted, I'm afraid.
Yes. As long as your mics don't come in randomly, it's fine to just stay unmuted. Just have a conversation. What do you guys want to start with? Anyone have any questions?
It's maybe not a question, but more of what's happening since today I tried to compile a component and I was doing it on Chrome. And everything just didn't work, files could not be deleted, installing didn't work. I opened it up on Firefox and everything worked like a charm.
Yeah, it's a very common thing we hear.
Is there something?
I don't know what it is with the compiler, but every time when I hear someone complain about compiler not working, first answer one gives is, have you tried Firefox?
Yeah, Chrome seems to be a big issue.
Yeah.
I almost never use Chrome. I'm on a Mac. I use Safari because there's some passwords in. I want to do development, I use Firefox. So not much experience with Chrome, but just to check if the sites look good. But yeah, Firefox is the way to go when it comes to compiling.
Yep.
I think you also know. Sorry?
Yeah, sorry.
I think we got some people who know a lot of stuff. Friends, I think you're very skilled in JCB, right?
Really? What made you think that?
I don't know. I just see your name pop up sometimes.
No, I can't say I'm skilled, and I've been out of action for the last 2 months. I came down with COVID, so I had to recover.
Oh wow.
I've been totally out of action with my Joomla for the last 2 months. So I was glad you guys are here so that I could get back with you guys.
You got all better again?
Yeah, no, it was,
Recovered from it?
shall we say it was fun, but it wasn't fun, okay?
Yeah, I can imagine. I've had it myself, and it took quite some time to get back to my normal state.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting experience, and I'm just glad it could have been worse. And at least it wasn't, yeah. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Look, my problem is I tackled a project, not like you guys who tackle 100 projects. I tackled one project, and I had to learn from scratch. And I've had fun because my biggest issue before I fell ill was I'm trying to create a program which runs in the background from my system and then feeds information to my browser while it's running, and that's been an interesting exercise for me. Okay. Because it runs for a long time in the background, and I needed to tell the user up front that it's happening and what's happening. So, but that's learning. That's all to do with JavaScript and
Ajax.
Ajax and all these things. Yeah. So that's been fun and games for me because I really got stuck there. But
I think.
I'll get there.
What about WebSockets?
Well, I
that's
don't know
something
enough
they
about
use.
them. I've seen about it, but I don't know about them. So I will do
Yeah,
some.
me too. I just heard about it.
Yeah.
I
They
think it was before, but I think that's a good idea. If that's more real time, getting something back from the system, you know.
Yeah, we see. I'm developing a payroll system, multi-company payroll system. Okay, so I've got all the employee maintenance and the maintenance for the shifts and the work schedules and the countries and the companies and you name it. But now I'm trying to run a payroll and it runs in the background. But when the user runs it, it must be able to tell the user what's happening. So that he doesn't get worried that it's disappeared forever.
Okay, you're doing that in Joomla?
Well, I'm doing it with JCB in Joomla, yeah.
Okay.
Using JCB at Joomla and writing the code in all the necessary languages, PHP, JavaScript, you name it.
Well, quite a task, huh?
Yeah, well, it's been fun. I'm getting there. I'm getting there, but yeah, it's been a slog because I had to learn everything myself. I still grew up in the old days with normal third generation languages, so all of this has been interesting for me, I must be honest.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine used to do this development in PHP, just standalone, and he used some service for a push service to have to insert some real time stuff to get messages back from system and updates and.
Yeah, I'm trying to reduce the amount of traffic that takes place because at the moment what I'm doing is that each run for each employee is a separate run and then it comes back to Java and then tells you where it is and then it jumps into the next employee and goes off into Ajax and PHP and does the next employee and then comes back again. That's the only solution I've got at the moment because I've been reading about how you can actually go and send messages back and forth, but still a grey area for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you figure out how to do that, then make it so when you close the browser, you come back, the messages are still there. That's the big thing, I think.
Yeah.
Being able to be persistent with the messages that come back.
Yep.
Not lose it when you close the session.
That's true.
A friend of mine just showed today, but that's built in Laravel with React.js, and just everything's instant. It's like a state. What we talk about is a state, and the state gets updated. Your screen gets updated automatically.
Okay.
That was so cool.
Really?
Like another user just changed the color, and on screen the color changes for you too.
Sure.
Everything's instant.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool software he built.
What?
But he's had 1,000 hours in it. It's a CRM system he's building from scratch.
Yeah.
He has like one employee in it full time working on it.
Some of us decide to take small ones and some of us decide to big ones. Unfortunately, because I've spent years developing payroll systems in SAP, I decided I wanted to develop my own system.
Okay. I don't know about the system thing.
I've seen a keynote from Odo yesterday, and they made big progress, with the website builder.
Yeah. Keynote.
Was Odoo. You know Odoo?
No.
Odoo, O-D-O-O. It's an open source CMS, CRM, RRP, and yes, it's a I would say it does the same as SAP does.
Mm-hmm.
But
No,
it's
I'm not
open
trying.
source, part of it.
I'm not trying to compete with SAP, but unfortunately, it had a lot of influence on me.
Yeah. I think we all had some touches with SAP.
Yeah.
Past.
I've had 25 years of it, so yeah. Anyway, that's me.
Yes, that's it.
So, what do you guys want to do? Should we look at the discussions on the GitHub, or
Yes, that would be a good starting point, no?
I've got here a question from Chris Passion. I don't know if I pronounced your name correct, but It's about the return URL after submitting entry.
Yep.
I think you already figured some stuff out, right?
Yeah, I've got it working kind of now. I'll post back up on there when I have it cleaned up.
Yeah, what was your solution? Because I was the one who responded as well. I posted a similar question a while back, but then the answer from Llewellyn was practically go figure it out. So
I honestly don't remember. It's been 2 days. I just remember I have it documented, and I could run through the documentation, and I couldn't even read my writing, and I figured, okay, I did it once. I'll go back and figure out what I did. So I'll post on there in a day or two.
Sure.
And I remember getting the same reply before.
What more do we have?
I may type in a new question that I had today.
Sure.
Somebody knows. Field categories are not backuped and restored. So I moved to another machine with an export of the fields, but the categories didn't show up after that.
No, that is a problem that I have experienced many times because I develop. Again, this is a SAP background. I have a test environment and I have a development environment. And every time I move from the test environment from the development environment to the test environment, I've got to recreate all my categories.
Yeah. Okay. That's maybe a feature that's missing. Or is it a bug?
Well, there's yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, just go ahead.
Well, a similar problem that I've had also is if you have created subforms and you have got fields, and for some reason or other you decide there's a field that somewhere in your list of fields that you're not going to use anymore and you remove it. If you migrate, then all your fields are messed up in your subforms and you've got to recreate your subforms, reassign the fields. It's one of those things that I've got it down pat now how to handle it, but it's always been a problem. Try to not delete fields.
Yeah, never delete fields, just create a copy.
Yeah, but the problem is that field is redundant because you've now come up with a better option, so now you use the new one and you decide not to use the old one. And especially if you disable it, of course, then when you move it across, it doesn't go with you.
I experience also something strange when I have a component called com nothing. It's just an empty view, be able to package plugins or modules or different things. And the point is when I choose compile and export for my plugins or for my modules. Sorry, there are some parameters in my modules. When I import it back, all the fields from the configuration of the module are gone.
Okay.
It's a question of ID. It just as the new when I import it on a new install, the ID doesn't remain, and the configuration still points as the old IDs. That's why I see the list of empty fields, but I have to reassign them one by one.
Yeah. I know that. I've had that problem. Keep the ID the same. Don't change that. My problem is with the subfield and a subform, and I've tried to figure out because I think it's a Joomla standard. Is because you're referring to the fields with ID numbers in your field definition. That is a problem because when you move it, if the ID is changed, it's not working.
It works for components. It works for views. Even if the fields are not the same, they are working properly. It's just for configuration stuff, I think.
Really? Okay.
So I've never tried to import back.
I do it very often. Many install. I don't put so I experienced many different things, and it's only a problem of configuration. For standard imports, the admin views get the right field with the new IDs, no problem. But so I don't think it's a huge issue. But
It's still an issue. Have you created a GitHub issue for it? So
not yet. I just took the opportunity because France was exposing something similar. So I will write an issue for that.
I think that's important for us to do is just create a lot of issues when we run into some problems.
But
I actually have another issue the other day about with the update server. If you have a module, it doesn't upload the update XML to the update server.
Yes, with a module alone, I also noticed that. I noticed yes. The update it does for the component, but not for the modules.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think JCB implemented the import and export by GUID now. Global Unique ID.
The global the GUID.
Yes.
I think it's only for the views. It's implemented for the views, but I'm not sure it's implemented for the fields.
Oh, eventually, I think everything is gonna use that approach to import by GUID, so you don't have this collision by when IDs, do all sorts of things.
Yeah, it could be a good idea.
Yes.
Probably something we'll see back in J4.
The global unique identifier.
Yes. Also, maybe have a question here. Has anyone maybe in this discussion developed like a component that or an extension that deals with queues?
With the what?
Queues. Like
with queues?
Yeah. Where maybe you have like a patient queue or like a queue in a banking system or whatever. Where you can add like maybe people to it, and then you can like give them priority in that queue. No one has ever developed something with a queue.
I have not with JCB, but this is a separate implementation for MySQL, where you can add tasks to a queue, and a machine takes out from the queue this task and works on it, and so you can have multiple machines working on that queue. But that's a separate implementation, and it's an add-on for MySQL.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that helps you.
Yeah, I kind of wanted like a way to do it in maybe JCB Joomla, because I'm developing this health system, and then it has like it needs a queue to be implemented where patients need to be queued, and then they are attended from that queue. So the one on the top will be attended first, in that order.
Sure. First in, first out.
Yes, definitely.
But what about just a database table and some JavaScript that just triggers a queue every couple seconds to see what's the latest and
okay, but it will trigger now
functionality that you need.
You say that again?
What's the exact functionality that you need the queue to do? Do you need people to click on a button and then the next number come up? Or?
Yeah, when the patient comes in the facility, or they are added to that queue, and then somebody else will attend to them using that queue. So the first one on the queue will be called first, and then they are attended, and then they are removed after they have been attended to, and then the next one in the queue, just like that, until the whole thing finishes.
I would just use a database. Like MySQL. Have a flag in it. As each one is added, there's a sequence number, and as each one is attended to, it sets another flag that it's attended to, so that when you look for the next one, you'll find the next one in the queue.
Okay. So once attended to, it can be cleared from the queue.
You can clear it, mark it as cleared, and then once a day clear it, for example, all those that have been attended to. How I would tackle it.
Okay.
Yeah, just create a database table for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would clear it a bit faster. Like have like a next button and then just say, oh, we're done with the current one. It automatically deletes it, gets the next one, and then shows it on the screen or something.
You might want to keep it a mystery, so you might want to move it to a history file so that you've got a record of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, thanks for your
There's-
suggestions. I will definitely maybe give it a try. I'll try with even some front end frameworks like maybe UIKit. See whether I can find something there.
Yeah, well, you must pay attention that a queue is not a task is not taken out and not given back. If I don't know how many clients work on this. This is the multi-user problem, maybe.
Oh,
So, it depends. I don't know how many terminals are working on the same situation.
so basically that would be like there will be like a starting station where people come in, they register, and then they are added to that queue, and then
Yeah, sure.
there will be now maybe the next station where like maybe it's the doctor or the nurse that just reads the name, and then you come in, they attend to you, and then you are removed from the queue after you have been
Are
attended.
there more than one station?
I think there are gonna be now 2 stations.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
Yeah, what you have to watch out for is that not two people click on the same patient at once, and it gets written to it twice.
The first one will just be adding the people, the patients, the first station, and then the next now station, which is now the high level, let's say maybe a doctor, nurse, or whatever. That's the one that now attends to the patient and then eventually removes them from the queue after they are done attending to them.
You
Yeah,
have to
but
take a look. Go ahead, Simon.
I think this is something more less with JCB and or with front ends, either like Ajax calls or some kind of scripts, and I think this is less of a JCB thing and more of just either Ajax or even a WebSocket thing.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion, guys. I'll definitely also I'll do more research on that.
Yeah, I definitely look into WebSockets if I were you. I think that's a good approach to have the queue come up with the next number and
Yes.
sign it off, show it somewhere. Because there must be then a screen, or how do these people get notified they're the next one available? They get a number, and then they wait in the room. There's a display with the number on it, and then they can go to a booth, or
It could be like just maybe like a view, like a view of a queue, where now the person that registered everyone, the first one to access that view, and then they add like a record to and then it's added to the top of the queue, to the top of the stack, and then the next person accessing the view, let's say maybe the nurse, they come into that view and then they see that it's already populated with records, and then after that they now just say they click on maybe the name, and then they attend to them, whatever they're attending to, maybe they're testing or whatever. After they're done, now they maybe click some on that queue, they say maybe done, and then they are removed from the list, just that kind of workflow.
Okay, so some more questions.
I have
I've got a
one.
Thanks.
question.
Okay, sorry, Karen, someone else? Someone else, please.
Oh no, I've already said like a bunch of things, so go ahead.
I've got a GitHub issue opened up last week. I've got to show it in the comments now. It's about the messages you get when you install a component, update, or uninstall it. The messages there. Have you guys ever edited those? And where do you do that?
That will
I don't think they're
probably be
editable.
a language string.
No,
Yeah, but I can.
I think it's compiler plugin. With a compiler plugin, you can modify the way the message will be done.
In the feature request, I also proposed a feature. It would be nice if you, where you put the updates, where the SQL updates are, and you put the version numbers. You know the view I'm talking about in the components.
Exactly.
Pop up. It would be nice if you could put like a custom message with a change log for that version, and then it would be picked up in the update.
The versioning issues is a problem for me because I'm not quite sure. I know it was working fine at one stage, but I've found lately that when I compile, the version numbers are not being updated, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong because it just doesn't seem to update the version. If I make changes and I recompile, it doesn't update the versions. And I don't have to,
It updates only if you have a change in the database.
Yes.
only the database.
Only when it yes.
Only if you
Otherwise, it's a manual
change it
process.
in the database, then it updates the version number. Otherwise, not.
Okay.
You just create a
Unless you
manual
No.
version.
So what is the purpose of the Joomla compiler plugin? Because there's one that says extension Joomla, and I don't quite get what it's doing. Is it documented somewhere?
Not sure. I think in the code, you have 5 main class for the compiler. They are with the letters A, B, C, D, and E. In Fusion, it's in. Let me check where it is. And there are triggers nearly everywhere, and I'm sure you can modify them. I don't know how, but I'm sure you can modify it with the compiler plugin.
Yeah, you can just write your own plugin for it, I guess.
It's in the administrator, component builder, helpers.
I think they're there, but I don't know what. I thought that's just part of the compiler's program.
Yeah, but if you study the classes, which are pretty huge, the get, the structure, fields, interpretation, and infusion, then you will see all the trigger of the plugin. So where you can intercept the code to put your own.
Okay. Okay.
So you can create your own compiler plugins to
You have
adjust what the compiler does.
If you have a pro membership, there are some extra compiler plugins, for example, for the view ordering or things like that.
Yeah,
So
no,
you can
I'm using some.
Yeah, you can take some inspiration here, and I'm sure you can modify the final message like that.
Okay.
But that would be static.
I will have a look myself because I'm interested also in that. But as I have my own system of recompiling a package, I don't need it directly in JCB because nobody sees the message from the individual extension of JCB.
Yeah, I use the update and sales server feature from JCB. So I can just go to the client website, log in, and see there's an update. I actually wrote a plugin for that too, because by default JCB, when you do a backup, you get a version number in the zip file, but when it uploads to the sales server, it doesn't. It's just a component name. So you don't have com demo version 1.0.0. That's just com demo, that's it. So you don't have versions to update. And I wrote it in a little plugin, a compiler plugin in this case, that says use the backup name instead of the sales name.
Yeah, probably. It should work for me.
Yeah, I've done that. So I've also shared it on GitHub the other day, I think on Clip. or it was in GitHub. I don't know where.
Hmm.
It's quite handy if you want to use the sales server. That's something you really need. Because otherwise, you can do just a update and forget about it. You always have to rename the file after you upload it. It's kind of a pain.
Yeah. If I may come in, maybe Emmanuel. The last time we had you were demonstrating that component that you're gonna distribute to the community. How far is it? Maybe what's the progress on it?
Yes, I'm working on it right now. I had a very busy summer with a lot of projects, and now I have 2 weeks to finish it.
Okay, that's great.
So I'm
Okay.
yeah, I've been starting today.
Okay, that's great.
So it will be finalized very soon. Finally, I started that in last December last year, and I had to stop it because too much client work. And, now I'm again on it.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but when you have a media type field in JCB or in Joomla component,
Yeah.
You can only select images instead of all media. And I've also written a little plugin that overrides that. I've done it because someone asked about it in the JCB GitHub Q&A. Thought I'd just share it. There's a link to it. Can be quite handy if you need to use it to select a PDF file or a doc file or Excel or whatever with a media type field.
Otherwise, there is a very simple system to do that. You just install Quantum Manager.
What?
Quantum Manager, the media manager.
Yeah, but does it overwrite the media field?
Yes,
to
exactly.
set of media? Okay.
It
But then you have another manager. This is just a small plugin.
Yeah, of course.
So
But
like
Quantum Manager, I cannot install a website without Quantum Manager. It's fully free,
No?
and it's a new experience of managing media inside Joomla. Much more better than.
I've never heard about it.
Oh, it's incredible. I give you the.
Quantum Manager Joomla.
I'm also a contributor of the project,
More next. That
but it's written by a Russian guy,
this year.
Dmitry. It's fully free and it changes everything about the media. You can resize your images, crop your images, pre-configure ratio. It's very practical when you deliver a website to a client. You can, for example, if he has to update the headers or whatever, you just pre-configure all the ratio, and so all the image will be resized automatically when you upload them. Very nice.
Nice. I'm looking at it now, the screens.
And
It's a
something
bit
that is
like,
hidden.
bringing J4 functions to J3.
It will be a lot better than J4 Manager. A lot better.
Okay.
No comparison. I tested both and it's a lot better. And there is something hidden, a hidden feature on that. It's in Quantum Manager, Dimitri ported a Laravel library which is called intervention image inside Joomla. J intervention image. So you can then use this library inside your project for other stuff.
Okay.
Unique dynamic image resizing or manipulation. It's really the best tool I've ever found in Joomla.
Should add that to a tips and tricks list. A links page or something.
Yeah, it would be nice to
resource page would be nice.
And sorry again, this library, what was it called?
intervention image.
Intervention image.
It's a Laravel library.
Okay.
Image.intervention.io.
Yeah, and it's ported inside Joomla with this.
Okay.
This library that you can see here, just finding the link.
Probably a lot easier than use ImageIQ.
It uses either ImageMagick or GD, depending on what is installed on your system. It will switch automatically.
But it's probably a lot easier to use than the libraries, because I've used ImageIQ and GD, but they're
it's a lot better. All the it's for me it changed everything when I discovered that, and it's packaged as a real Joomla library.
Oh, nice.
And require with JLoader and things like that.
I may use that because I'm writing a component that changes every image that is used in Joomla content. So I have to rush through all articles and find all images and give them new names, because a lot of people loaded pictures in there with the usual DSC and no name to it, no real name. Seems
Also for SEO purposes you're using.
Yes, exactly.
And then you're picking up the title, or what are you using to fill the names?
The title or the alias, if there is one.
Ah,
And then numbering the images. And if an image was already renamed, I keep that in mind, what the computer does.
nice.
I'm working on it because I have a client who needs it. Maybe some resizing is needed. Sadly, it's not a JCB component.
You can always build it like that. Build a JCB plugin, because you can also build plugins and modules in JCB.
Yeah, maybe when I put the images into a separate data in a separate table, it would be, I would use JCB then.
But I guess this you're writing as a plugin, no?
No, it's just a backend component because it's only supposed to run once.
Ah, okay. So it's not something that runs when you use the editor.
No, it's from an import from another website, and there are 2,000 images with and the same amount of articles, almost, but the articles have names and text in it. Only the pictures need new names.
Ah, okay. Let's see, do you have some other questions maybe, or some things you'd like to share with us?
I got one thing I'm recently working on, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it in the most correct way. I have a plugin that links that's basically an API between Hikashop and a different database. And I'm using JCB to make like an intermediate database where you can compare the differences. But I want to update this. I want to get data from the external database and whatever is in the Hikashop. I want both just import it let's say every day. Every midnight it wants to get the newest data. But I'm not sure what the most efficient way of triggering this action is like a cron job.
Yeah, it's a cron job. You just have to write a command line script in the command line folder from Joomla and make a cron to update it.
Well, I don't have any experience with that, so I guess I should start looking there.
It's a J application CLI. you have in your Joomla install you have a CLI folder, and here you have example scripts written that
Right.
can be used as a command line or as a cron.
Right.
It's an efficient way to do that because you won't have any timeout from PHP. So I do that I do that very often. For example, I manage medical data. I have about 2 million records that I need to update every day.
Yeah.
And so it's done like that. If I do that with PHP, I have timeout all the time. It wouldn't function. But with a command line script, works perfectly. And the Joomla's CLE application works very well.
Right, that's good to hear.
Just not use the application, the normal application.
Right.
Factory get application, you cannot use the inside.
Right.
Do you have some documentation on using CLI or some resources?
Not really.
There's not much at all available. I had to do that and learn from scratch. If you run into anything, post it.
Sorry.
Post it where, Chris?
Yeah, if you run into problems, post something. You can look at it.
I'll do that.
But it's actually, I find it easier to write that than to do anything else in Joomla.
So yeah, if you want to have a look to a very simple one, you just have a look to the CLI folder, you update at the stock home. And it's a very, very basic script that is a good example of what you can do.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. I'll definitely have a look at it.
And when do these cron jobs run? Do they run all the time, or?
You can manage that from your server. From your server, in your cron tab, you program as a sequence of running a code. There are many documentation about that.
Yeah, cron jobs is clear, but there must be a call to the Joomla app then, no?
Yes, of course. The CLI script that is in your CLI folder it's all the Joomla application and everything.
Okay.
You can use everything from the framework.
Okay. So you just call the CLI script instead of a normal Joomla site.
Exactly.
I see.
And if you need examples, Akiba has cron scripts that they run, AC mailing, a bunch of different extensions that you can look at. For example.
Akiba has many also.
Yeah.
The Finder indexer also has a CLI script. There are many examples, just out of the box from the Joomla install.
But I don't think AceMailing is using CLI though, is it? Because I actually
Sorry?
use AceMailing on a lot of sites, and I've actually looked at their code shop and used that before. But I think that's just a normal view, not a CLI script. The cron job of AceMailing.
I think it is using at least the older version of it, whatever 5 or whatever is the older version.
Okay. Because when the URL you have to put in is just a view URL to trigger the sending.
I can't remember. it's been a couple of years since I actually wrote a cron job program, a CLI program that works with AC mailing, but it's been a couple of years. I haven't even looked at that code.
But you have to install a cron job on your system then.
Yeah, it's more like setting a cron job up. It's not really installing.
Yeah.
For me, in Type Admin, I just set up a cron job. In Joomla 4, by the way, Joomla 4.1, there's going to be a cron job system, probably.
Yeah,
So you can do it from Joomla itself. But for now, you would do that through your hosting panel, mostly.
I've got another question.
Yeah.
I have a component that I developed on a dev site, and then the dev site crashed, lost all of everything. So I have the component, but I have no way to go back into JCB and re-edit it or continue developing it. Anybody ever run into that?
Yes, I did. Unfortunately, I did.
What did you do?
Sounds painful.
You still have the database of your components. I don't think about the JCB table. I mean the if you have the package to install it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is some kind of reverse engineering feature inside JCB somewhere. Let me check. Yes, but it's not perfect. But it will shorten your process. Let me check where it is.
Easier than redoing it from scratch.
It'll ease the pain.
Yes, I used it already once. Okay, if you just create an empty component and then you go to the tab dynamic build, there is a beta into brackets. Dynamic.
Okay.
And here you can put all your database stuff, your MySQL table dump, and it will create all the fields, everything, all the views, and assemble that together. But with very basically.
Yeah.
So that's the best option I have to propose to you.
Okay, great.
I think that's probably a lot of the work, is creating all those views and all those fields. So
yeah, I tried it.
that's quite a big save in time.
Yeah, it saved a lot of time. You know, I also had some old components that I didn't build with JCB, that I started to build them back with JCB using this.
Okay, now that would be interesting for me too. Where did you go and do that?
Just open an empty component. Just to create a new one, and you have a tab. Lost it again. It is called dynamic build.
Emmanuel, are you maybe able to share your screen? Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, you just switch to yes, and you put your MySQL stuff, and it will create a field.
Interesting.
So basically build completely the back end that way. Let's see, what else do we got?
Well, I think I'm gonna head out. Thanks again for the tips for the CLI. Definitely checking that one out.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for
Thanks
coming.
for hosting.
Yeah, we need to find a bit of a way and all this, but I think it's a good session.
Well, have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to log out as well. But just to refer to the issue I was talking about, the field mismatches, okay. I created a note. There was an issue which was opened. Just trying to find it again. Issue 587. It's a very long story, and there was a discussions between me and Llewellyn. But in the last section, I document how I actually established what is happening. I don't know why it's happening, but what is happening. So if anyone ever wants to look through that and see that last section there, I explain how the fields get messed up. Okay. But it's a long thing, because there's a long conversation between me and Llewellyn on this one.
587, did you say?
Yeah, it's 587. It's
This one.
August 13, 2020. You went in there. But you don't have to read it all the way from the beginning. Just go to the last section because it's a long back and forth between me and Eric, trying to explain to him, and Llewellyn, trying to explain to him what was happening, and him coming back at me until eventually, in the end, I got a clue as to what is happening, and I sort of detailed my findings in the last section. But he never responded after that, I'm afraid. But that's where I found that it was going wrong. Okay. So if any one of you guys get an idea to read that last paragraph and have an idea, that would be useful, I think, for future. Okay.
That's about the component config, huh?
Sorry?
That's about the component config parameters.
I don't know.
That's okay. Never mind.
Yeah, no, look, if you guys get a chance at any stage and someone is interested, but I know on the 17th of September I sent him a message saying I've been able to reproduce it with experimentation, and I have a clue as to how it's happening, and I sort of put down in my notes how it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, guys, I got to go now. Thank you. It was very interesting listening to
Thanks
you.
for coming.
To you. Okay.
Thanks
Have a
for
good
coming.
evening.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye
friends.
bye. It's almost 9 o'clock. I don't know if you guys want to proceed or we just call it quits, or anyone has any new questions, or what do you guys want to do?
Just listen.
Maybe you want to showcase something.
Showcase I did on a Joomla day in Germany.
Ah,
With, in German, or
in German.
in German. I did a speech on JCB, just the demo component. In fact, it was almost a translation of Llewellyn's Hello World component.
The video, for 2-hour video.
I have a video, yes.
Yeah, but they made videos. I haven't watched them yet. I'm just been too busy. How did they react to your presentation? How did they receive it?
Yes, there was quite some interest, and a lot of them said it was a little bit fast. That was normal, but they will watch the video again and try to do it themselves.
Okay, cool. I wonder if Luanne can see a change in downloads or something. That'd be cool to see if it has some influence on how much JCB is downloaded, or if it attracts
yes,
some new people.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I have to look at subtitles, or maybe I can do some subtitles or some comments on the video. I don't think I did it not myself. It was from the video team, Joomla video team, that did it, and maybe I can adjust the comments there, but the JCB link is better there. It was on the website, it was okay, but on the video the link does not appear.
Was it a YouTube video or something else?
It is a YouTube video, yes.
Because you can enable closed captions on YouTube videos, and it should automatically translate what you're saying. It doesn't work the best, but
I'm not sure if they get my German, my Swiss German. It was not Swiss German, but my real German is not that perfect.
Hochdeutsch.
Yes, it's my Hochdeutsch.
Ja, mein Deutsch ist auch gut, aber
Meine Mutter war Deutsch. Ich spreche auch Deutsch.
Okay. It's just a simple demonstration for people not knowing at all GCB.
well, probably for people coming from Germany, it's maybe easier to understand than the English presentation.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I think it's a good idea to maybe put it up in the discussion area. Get that? That'd be cool.
I'm just looking for the link and I will post it there.
But that's about the central place where we want to combine all information related to JCB. It's the GitHub page.
Okay, super.
Just posted the discussion link. also if you have questions, when you post it there, people will receive it. And so it's not really an issue, but just a question about how you should do things or whatever. Like, Chris Passion had a question about URL. Those always pop up in my mailbox. Right top. Like, hey, someone posted something. Let's see what they need help with. From what I understand, I talked to Llewellyn the other day. He's really busy on building, porting JCB to to put out JCB compatible Joomla 4 components. But they've been really struggling with some of the features. From what I understand, there's a couple of features that don't really work when your component is in legacy mode. So things are a bit hard, but he's working on it hard. It's the only thing he's working on, so no distractions there.
Okay.
That's good to know.
I think there will be 2 years time that we have Joomla 3 still supported.
True, but I would like to make my first Joomla component in JCB at the beginning of next year. So I hope they can make that.
Yes, I hope too.
There's a big company that's pushing this forward, so that's good. That should make that it's going to happen sooner than later. So it's a positive note. Well, any more questions or?
Yeah, nothing from my side.
I've created the component and I finished the component, my second component in JCB, and since 2019, so I don't have a lot of components on my name yet. It's not yet live. The website is still filling the component with all of the data, but when it's live, I'll share it. It's a pretty cool component, I think. You use it to sell trainings to people, and it's linked to their training platform, to their API. It was a fun project.
Mm.
And the next project I'm going to work on is building something where people can buy domain names, buy hosting for me, and stuff like that. Automatically register domain name with my domain name provider. Anyone else created something like that before?
No.
And it's a question for.
Sorry, Emmanuel?
Sorry, someone just focused me, and I didn't hear your question.
Well, I'm planning on building something so people can buy domain names for or my clients can see what domain names they have registered with me, and stuff like that. I was just talking about that's going to be my next project in JCB.
Okay, you have
someone else created.
You have an API. You can.
I use ODF, Open Domain Registry.net.
Okay.
For registering my domain names. And actually for looking up if a domain name is available, I'm going to use the TransIP API because that's much faster. And they do multiple lookups, so I can look up multiple domain name extensions at once.
Great.
And that's just free. Just create an account there, and you can use their API. And I register with the with ODF, Open Domain Registry.net. That's the plan. So people get a bit more insight on what domains they have, when they expire, and stuff like that. So be more like a real web hosting company.
Wow.
No wonder.
That's exciting.
That's the plan. Yeah, I'm building it with a friend of mine. He's also that created that CRM system I talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, I mean, he's now getting into building stuff with JCB and Joomla. So he used to build stuff with Laravel and React. Yes, also pretty cool. But that takes a lot more time to develop stuff. Way more time.
There's differences. It's the same way of working. hopefully we will have more stuff like that with Joomla 4 coming. With the API of Joomla 4, you will be able to build Vue.js or React or whatever application. With Joomla,
That's cool.
we will have more and more stuff like that.
But I wonder what then is the advantage of still using Joomla?
To have a CMS for your clients so they can update their pages and everything.
Yeah.
Because the application is integrated inside a website, so the website also has to be managed, not only the application. It depends on the project you have to do. On some projects you don't require Joomla at all. Of course you can.
Yeah, because I can understand if I want to build a custom component and use React.js as a front end. I wonder if Joomla is then still needed, you know. But if you need the core functionality of Joomla is enough, then it'll make sense, of course. But it's always a question of when do you switch to something else or not? When do you stick to Joomla or not?
It depends on the client.
That's a good question. If he needs more, yeah, you may run into trouble. And what I've seen from Odoo, there are a lot of modules you can add, and even a website builder, and it's still a CMS. So what I was hoping for Joomla 4 was a site builder, but it didn't happen.
But there are so many extensions that already provide site builders.
Yeah, sure. But you're not sure if they update or stay in market and all the stuff, all the problems.
I must say I'm not a big fan of page builders, but I see where they come in handy.
I just use the one from UC, and it's pretty nice, I think. With content you can do a lot of things, but never exactly the thing you need to do. There's always something different, unfortunately. Like all this toys.
Yeah, I just create custom models to do what I want and overrides.
Yeah, of course. And also I use it to prototype, you know. I just prototype my pages and then I copy the code generated by the builder and then I integrate with PHP.
Okay. It's a nifty way of doing stuff.
Yeah, it goes fast, you know. I'm the developer of an extension called Flexi Content. And with Flexi Content, you can manage the contents much more efficiently inside Joomla. And
I've heard of Flexi Content.
Yeah, I created that in 2009, a long time ago.
Cool.
I'm not developing it in Flexi Content anymore, but I'm using it for customer projects. And so you can manage all your content type in the same interface, but you have to create, for every type, you have to create templates, or integrate template that the designer needs to use. So I use this approach to build the static pages, and then I copy the code, or portion of code, the code generated that the builder is really clean, and then I integrate it with Flexi.
Okay.
So guys, I have to leave.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock already. It's past 9, so we're gonna. If nobody has any questions, I'm gonna say we're stopped for tonight. Works good.
Yes, it was nice.
I hope you all enjoyed it. We
Yeah.
need to find a bit of a way on how we do it with the questions. Maybe be a bit more structured. Maybe have people on forehand fill in questions, or I don't know. But I liked it this way, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was nice.
it was a nice first session.
More like a lounge, just chatting.
Yes. But I think it will actually work having questions before the meeting, like just something listed, and then some can come in as the discussion goes on.
I think that'll help for sure. So I think for the next JUG, that next JUG is going to be a normal one. It's going to be in maybe end of October or beginning of September, of November. Invitations are going to be sent out next week. And then the one after that is going to be more like this style again. So we're going to do bi-monthly the normal JUG and bi-monthly this one. Just more Q&A, lounge, Dr. Joomla, whatever you want to call it.
Dr. JCB.
Whatever.
Hang out.
Okay, I say bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Martin. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming, Martin.
Bye-bye, guys.
Welcome, bye-bye.
Bye. Everyone have a good night.
Okay.
Hey, Martin, did you record it or did it work out or?
Yeah, I actually managed to, I think, to record everything. I'm just gonna save it now.
Then well, I can see what we did.
Oh yes.